Today is Wednesday, May the 26th, and this is my daily thought. The crazy thing is that I was thinking about Left Eye. I honestly thought her birthday was May the 26th. It's May the 27th for those who listen to Left Eye, those who listen to her, you know she's not with us anymore. But there's this awesome song that she came out with called Block Party. And I listened to that song probably about a week ago. And now I keep listening to it. It's like I feel like if you put that song on the radio right now, it would fit in fine with this era of music. I just love that song. If you ever get a chance, for those who listen to like TLC and that type of music, listen to the song by Left Eye called Block Party. It's such a cute song. But, all right. Well, you know what? Before I go any further, KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is best for you. For those who are watching this video, as you know, sometimes I multitask while doing things, so keep that in mind. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Now, where to start? So, some things came about today with this title, if you don't know me by now, which is the title of this daily thought. Because I had called my mother yesterday. Remember when I told you I was going to call my mother? Because I was pretty sure her anniversary was on the 25th. But for some reason, the 27th was coming up in my head too. And I'm like, well, why am I thinking it might be on the 27th? Come to find out, Left Eye's birthday is on the 27th. Go figure. But when I called her, she was out with my dad, obviously, because I called on the anniversary yesterday. And we spoke very briefly. And she said, yeah, the anniversary is on the 25th. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I was calling to wish you and Dad a happy anniversary. And remember I mentioned yesterday, I had said that I was thinking it was 49 years that they had been married. And I was off by a year. It's 48 years that they had been married. Celebrated yesterday. So 48 years of marriage. God bless them. All right. So then she's like, well, can't talk long. Gotta go. Because obviously, you know, mommy daddy time. They're doing their thing, celebrating their anniversary. Even though she was texting me. I do not know why. My mother still texts me. I told her, don't text me. If you have something to say, call me. I just don't feel comfortable with my mother and my father texting me. I don't. I'm like, pick up the phone. So it's different if it's a friend or something like that, but with your parents, I would rather, if I have something to say, I'm not sending it in a text message to you. If you're my parents, I'll pick up the phone and call, is what I will do. That way you can hear my voice. Because sometimes in text messages, things can be misunderstood both ways, where I can misunderstand something and they could misunderstand something. So it's usually better to have a telephone conversation and do that. That's just my personal belief. But, you know, it is what it is. And when she sends them, sometimes I answer, sometimes I don't, but usually I don't. And that's just my way of me handling her not paying attention to what I said before about texting me. But these are minor details. So she was texting me and she was like, oh, well, we went to go see the dolphins and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, okay. So that was a brief telephone conversation yesterday when I called her. They went to an Italian restaurant too, which she said they really, really enjoyed. What else? There was something else that was going on. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be doing another interview a Conversations with KC in a few hours. Keep your fingers crossed. Everything goes okay. Knock on wood. And that will be fine. Also, I booked somebody else too for this weekend. And I just received another contact from someone else who wants to come on the show. I haven't replied yet. I finally sent Carissa an email. So hopefully she'll get that. I'm not expecting a reply anytime soon because obviously she's a very busy person and I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with. So we'll coordinate. But I made it clear in the email that she's welcome to come back on anytime because she said that she wanted to come back on the show. And I'm very, very fine with that. Someone else wanted to come on the show. I replied to them, but they haven't replied back yet to coordinate. And see, this goes back into what I was talking about before I launched the whole Conversations with KC segment about working out the logistics, waiting on the reply, setting up, okay, well, can you talk at this time? Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, that's where we're at on that for the Conversations with KC. And as I said before, yesterday, I will do my best to have the episode uploaded by Friday. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I should have a little bit of extra time to do some more stuff on Friday too, as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Now that that is out the way, the reason the If You Don't Know Me By Now came up is because I was listening to Gladys Knight. And for those who may not remember, back a long time ago, it was on her album. I think the title of that album was Just For You. One of the lead singles off that album, I'm doing this from memory, so bear with me here. I believe it was I Don't Want to Know. And I'm pretty sure Babyface wrote that song. I'm 85% to 90% sure Babyface wrote that song. It's, the I Don't Want to Know. That was the lead single off of that album. But the title of the album was Just For You. Pretty sure. Well, also on that album, she did the End of the Road medley, where she combined If You Don't Know Me By Now, and then It Takes a Fool, and then the End of the Road song. And if you've never heard Gladys Knight sing that song, I implore you, go online right now to YouTube and type in Gladys Knight End of the Road melody or medley, because melody and medley are two different things. But I'm not here to teach that part. But type in End of the Road medley and you will get it. And she did the song better than the original people who did End of the Road Boys the Men, which Boys the Men, they're amazing. But Gladys did it better. Just saying. But when I was listening to that If You Don't Know Me By Now, I was like, why is that resonating with me? It's almost like with tarot card readings. I always tell you, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And I'm rolling my eyes because I just read something. Those who are listening to the podcast, you don't know that I just rolled my eyes, but those who are watching the video, you probably were like, why did he just roll his eyes? Because I just read something and I digress. With tarot card readings, I always say, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Same thing when I do the lucky numbers. If I pull numbers and then I start talking about other numbers outside of the numbers I pull, if they're resonating with you, if there's something there, then you may want to consider playing those numbers. Well, when the whole If You Don't Know Me By Now, the title was resonating with me. So I was like, why is this? And then I started thinking about some of this other stuff. And I was like, wow, you could really apply this not just to a romantic, I hate that word, even though it is actually a word. Romantic is a word. I just don't like it. any type of relationship involving romance. Let me articulate it that way. For any type of relationship involving romance or a platonic relationship, I don't mind platonic. Platonic is fine. I like that word. Or a platonic relationship. I feel that if you don't know me by now, can apply to both of those. I pulled up the lyrics of the song, and there were certain ones that stood out to me. And it says, all the things that we've been through, you should understand me like I understand you. Those two sentences right there, that can be applied to a friendship, or it can be applied to someone who is involved in a relationship that covers the romance area. Because if you've been around someone, and not that you will ever know every single thing about someone, I did an episode about that on the podcast. You'll never truly know everything about someone. It's impossible. And that was a while back, so you'll have to scroll through all the episodes and find it. I don't know the number off the top of my head. However, when you've been around someone and when you've been through a lot of things with someone, when you've, what's the term I'm looking for? Universe, can I have some backup on this one? When you fought battles together, you fought battles with each other and you fought battles together, meaning that you've worked to overcome whatever obstacles, whatever obstacles showed up at the time as you were in a relationship with each other, or as you are in a relationship with each other. Through those periods, you learned more about each other. You learned how one might react in certain situations. And that's what was going through my head. Another thing, or another lyric, or lyrics that stood out was, as long as we've been together, it should be easy to do. Just get yourself together, or we might as well say goodbye. What good is a love affair when you can't see eye to eye? I can replace love affair with friendship. So either or. I feel we can change it out. What good is a friendship when you can't see eye to eye? If you've had friends in your life and they've been around for such a long time, and obviously I'm not saying cut and run when the first little bit of opposition happens, or when the first obstacle happens, or when the first disagreement happens. That would be silly. What I am saying is that throughout the years, your counterpart, whether it be in the romance part, or in the platonic part, or even in the family part, your counterparts should have an idea of how you tick. They should have an idea of what sets you off. They should have an idea of what makes you smile. They should have an idea of if you are authentic with them. If any of those things are missing, then after all this time, what's the point of being around each other? If you pursue someone, and I mentioned this before, if you pursue someone, why put your life on hold if they don't get it? I mentioned about knowing your worth. I mentioned about sometimes your value can be hidden from someone. If you've waited around for an individual. You've waited for a year or 30 days or 5 years, or in my case, 7 years. And they are still like, well, kinda, I'm not sure, maybe, you might want to pack it up. If they don't know you by now, they will never, ever, ever know you. And you will know when that applies, because that's what the chorus is. If you don't know me by now, if you don't know me, you will never, never, never know me. And that's honestly how I feel about relationships. Whether it's friends, whether it's family, whether it is romance. Because they haven't taken the time to assess everything that you've been through, to identify what's needed to have a healthy, balanced relationship with you. Some people just take and take and take and take, and they never give. Some people give and give and give and give, they never take. It's it's always about balance. But when it's all said and done, you need to be able to identify what each other's traits, what each other's characteristics are, what each other's attributes are, and what the flaws are. And be able to mix all of that together and come out with a healthy balance to temper the relationship. Instead of where someone may take another for granted, which can be the case sometimes. And if a lot of time goes by and you are not being treated the way that you feel you should be treated, then more than likely they don't know you. And if all this time has passed that you spent with them and they don't know you, if they don't know you by now, they'll probably never, ever, ever know you. And as I said before, sometimes some people, they're often in the wilderness and they have to find their way and have to find what makes them tick and find out what their North Star is and find out what motivates them and find out how they can be a better person and how they can better nurture a relationship. Some people might stay in the wilderness for 30 days. Some people might stay in the wilderness for 30 years. My point about this is, how long do you want to wait until they come out of the wilderness? All this time is going by. Life is passing you by. Opportunities are passing you by. So many things are passing you by because you're waiting on someone to know you. But it's clear they don't, because again, they don't know themselves. That's another thing with it, which back to the love thing, which some people can't recognize love because they don't love themselves enough. So how can they recognize love? But not just that, it can be a combination of other things too. I always ask people to do an audit of relationships. I did an episode about that. I said all relationships are subject to audit. You can scroll through my podcast episodes. It's one of the older episodes, but the title of the episode is All Relationships Are Subject to Audit. When you audit a relationship, you will be able to come to the conclusion whether someone knows you or not. If you spent so many years dealing with someone and something still is out of balance, and you still can't seem to see eye to eye, odds are they're not going to know you. So if you've waited 7 years, they're probably not going to get it in another 7 years. And then you already have 14 years that I won't say was completely wasted, but 14 years where you could have diverted your energy and invested it in a better investment. Let's put it that way. You could get a better ROI. So just think about that when it comes to dealing with people. How well do some people know you? How well do they recognize things about you? Are your relationships really balanced? And if there's been a lot of time that has went by, if they don't know you by now, do you really think they'll ever really know you? And again, like I said, I'm not saying know every single thing about you. I don't like to use the word impossible. I really, really don't. This is one of the rare occasions. It is impossible to know every single thing about a person. It's like people are like unexplored planets, is what they're like. Or like an ocean. Hell, we haven't even explored the ocean here on Earth, and we're trying to go to Mars. I think we've explored less than 10% of the Earth's oceans. Go figure. But Mars, here we come. But these are minor details. My point is that you will know. This goes back to when something resonates. This goes back to discernment. You will know when someone should know a certain amount of information about you or have a certain connection or a certain acknowledgement or a certain balance with the relationship. You'll know. You have discernment. Everybody has discernment on one level or another. The point is that when you get to that audit and you start discerning things and you notice a lot of time has passed, if they don't know you by now, will they ever really know you? And then that's when you might have to just say, it's been fun. I love you. God bless. And all that other good stuff. And that is my daily thought. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Thank you to everyone who has been supporting the podcast. I sincerely appreciate it. Until next time, be blessed.